Curious Lloyd.
The Comedy Central show South Park has been on air for over 2 decades and is considered to be one of the most controversial shows ever made. Ever since its inception, it has been rolled up with countless sensitive viewers. The show is notorious for parodying countless celebrities such as Barbra Streisand, Tom Cruise, the cast of Jersey Shore, and even religious figures such as Jesus Christ and Satan. In one episode, they have portrayed Scientology as a cult, which made one of the show's voice actors, Isaac Hayes, depart the show. On a couple of occasions, they were threatened to show an image of Muhammad that drew the ire of Muslim extremists. In fact, one episode infuriated so many people that it is banned from the South Park website. Without further ado, here are the 10 most controversial South Park episodes ever made. The China Problem. In this particular episode, Carl wants to tell directors George Lucas and Steven Spielberg to stop sexually assaulting Indiana Jones. The boys are upset because they did nothing about it. By this, I mean the 2 directors created a poor Indiana Jones film. The other plot involves Cartman and Butters thinking that China is overtaking the United States. The episode is controversial because of the stereotypes of Chinese people. Another scene involves Spielberg and Lucas literally sexually assaulting a stormtrooper. Many people considered that particular part of the episode to be controversial, even by the South Park standards. It hits the fan. In this season 5 episode, the South Park children are watching a television show, and they are going to say the word shit for the first time ever on television. After the show aired, virtually all of the people in South Park incessantly utter the word shit, or other variants of the word. Throughout the episode, the word is uttered 162 times, and there is actually a tally keeping track of how many times the word is said. After the episode aired, Comedy Central got thousands of complaints about the episode. Believe it or not, this episode is pretty tame compared to other notorious episodes. Hell on Earth. In the 150th episode of South Park, Satan decides to throw a party in Los Angeles, California. This episode lampoons the most popular MTV television show, My Super Sweet 16. However, that is not why the episode spurred controversy. This episode made a joke about Steve Irwin and was criticised by his family. This episode aired around the same time as Steve Irwin's pass away, so that's why it stung his family. It is important to take note that an earlier South Park episode also parodied Steve Irwin, but did not spark controversy. This episode also features notorious serial killers Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy. Scott Tenorman must die. Yet another controversial episode from Seasons 5. The plot is about conflict between Eric Cartman and a 9th grader, Scott Tenorman. This episode is beloved by both the creators and fans alike, and is considered to be one of the most iconic episodes of South Park. Eric Cartman devises a plan to have Tenorman's parents killed. Eric Cartman devises a plan to have Tenorman's parents murdered. If that wasn't enough, he has Scott Tenorman unknowingly eat his parents. In the early seasons of the show, Cartman wasn't as evil as he is in more modern episodes, which made the episode more shocking. Scott Tenorman reappears in Seasons 14, episode 201. Proper condom use. This Seasons 5 episode is mainly about the children of South Park being taught about sex. That said, this very concept alone was going to stir up a riot. This episode was mostly criticised by parents and religious people. In the show, the male teacher, Mr. McKee, attempts to teach the boys about sex. He is unable to due to his inexperience. The female teacher, Miss Chocks on Dick, teaches the girls about sex education, but she spreads lies about it to them. Eventually, due to the lies they were told about sex education, the 2 genders turn against each other. In the end, Chief chastises the South Park parents because they are forcing their children to learn about sex too early. Bloody Mary. In this Season 9 episode, Stan Marsh is constantly getting embarrassed with his father's public drunkenness. For the record, the show portrays alcoholism as a disease, and Randy Marsh feels it is one of the worst diseases known to man. Stan's father, Randy Marsh, feels the only way he can cure his alcoholism is a bleeding statue of the Virgin Mary. Anytime a show parodies religion, it's going to spark major controversy. Many religious folks were offended by this episode. Many people wanted this pulled off air, and eventually it was. However, it did come back after a few months. Cartoon Wars Part 1 and 2. In this episode, the citizens of South Park are panicking because of a cartoon show is going to feature Muhammad. The show that featured Muhammad was Family Guy, which was a parody of the real-life show with the same name. They are panicking because they feel Islamic extremists are going to be offended by it. When the four boys watch the episode, they see that Muhammad was censored. However, in the next Family Guy episode, they find out that Muhammad would not be censored. One of the show's main characters, Eric Cartman, wants the show cancelled. Not because of the decapitation of Muhammad, but because he despises the show, as he finds it completely pointless. Meanwhile, Muslim terrorists threaten to take action if Muhammad is not censored in the next Family Guy episode. Despite threats of retaliation from terrorists, Muhammad is seen with censorship. Eventually, the Muslims send America a video of Jesus Christ, Tom Cruise, George Bush defecating on the American flag. With apologies to Jesse Jackson. This episode parodies the Michael Richards incident when he calls an African-American audience member the N-word. Unfortunately, someone was recording it and it became national news. In this episode, one of the South Park characters, Randy Marsh, was on Wheel of Fortune and attempted to solve the final puzzle. The clue was people who annoy you, and he was just one letter shy of solving the puzzle. On the puzzle, it said N-G-G-E-R-S, and stupidly, Randy blurted out the N-word. For the record, the answer was naggers. Eventually, he apologizes to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Ironically, the African American people and the NAACP reacted positively to the episode. Trapped in the Closet. This episode lampoons Scientology and is one of the most notorious episodes of South Park. In this episode, the show's main protagonist, Stan Marsh, takes a personality test. His test results say that he is extremely depressed, and eventually, a Scientologist is asked to read his theatan levels. His theatan levels are so high, people within the religion consider him to be a reincarnation of Ron Hubbard. The next days, celebrities such as John Travolta, Tom Cruise visit his house. When Stan insults Cruise, he locks himself in Stan's closet. The episode is controversial because the episode treats Scientology as if it was a cult rather than a religion. Not to mention Isaac Hayes, a voice actor on South Park, departed the show because of this episode. This episode also takes jabs at Tom Cruise's alleged homosexuality. (200-201). This is a second two-parter on the list and the most controversial South Park episode of all time. In this episode, multiple celebrities have been lampooned on the show to come to the town and demand Muhammad to be shown. Many Islamic extremists were highly offended by the episode. In fact, this episode was so notorious it was eventually banned from digital distribution. However, the episode was eventually released on DVD. Lastly, some of the celebrities that were parodied include Tom Cruise, Bill Cosby, Russell Crowe, Michael Douglas, Mel Gibson, Phil Collins, Michael Jackson, Jesse Jackson, John Travolta, Kanye West, Paris Hilton. While there were countless celebrities featured in this episode, Tom Cruise seemed to be the main celebrity being made fun of. So there you have it. 10 controversial South Park episodes ever aired on TV. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe if you're new, and I will catch you Sunday.